Joe Reinagel, Jason Minix, The Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
It is The Blitz here on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. He is Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. A proposed legislation today that could make gambling in Texas, sports gambling, legal, has certainly piqued our interest. Let's talk about it with State Senator Jose Menendez, who is joining us now. And Senator, I know we've had this conversation a couple of times in the past. Does the legislation filed today by Charlie Guerin up in Fort Worth change anything in your mind about the likelihood of us getting to the point where we have legal sports gambling?
Oh, every session it seems like there are people who want to push it more. And, I'm just not sure in the Republican caucus, since they have the super majorities in the Texas legislature, if they have the votes to get it passed. I think that, when I look at, like anything I study, I try to see what's the benefits, the pros and the cons to the state, to my constituents, and I can see the opportunities for new revenue streams for the state and local governments, which, God knows our state needs diversified revenue streams, because it seems like we're always boom and bust depending on what oil is doing and the economy is doing. And I know that, it can create a lot of new jobs, and that there's a lot of interest in this already, and that a lot of sports betting is already going on, but it's going on, person to person. It's not happening in a way that people can have confidence in a legal way, and that way the city, the state lose out, and maybe creating new jobs. So I would be supportive of it, but I hope that we can get the votes there, because at the end of the day, if you can go buy lottery tickets at a convenience store, why shouldn't you be able to bet on your favorite team?
Senator, I've got to ask you, now this bill was filed or proposed, or whatever the correct wording is, what happens next?
So what happens next is that it will get referred to a committee by the presiding officer in each chamber, the Speaker of the House and the House of Representatives. And when and if it gets filed in the Senate, there'll be or referred to the Senate if it comes over with a number of votes necessary. Then the Lieutenant Governor's office will refer it to a committee. And once it goes to committee, you get, hopefully the chair of the committee will give it a hearing, a public hearing, which means that people get to testify for and against why they believe it's a positive or a negative. And then they either convince the members enough, a majority to vote for it, or it dies in committee. It can die in committee. It can die on a vote. The fact that Representative Guerin filed it, he's a senior Republican member, tells me that there's probably some support for this. I've heard a lot of teams around the state, big sports owners, are supportive of this, and I think it may have more traction than normal.
Does it help as we visit with State Senator Jose Menendez here on the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star? Does it help on this piece of legislation? It's to get it on the ballot to let Texans decide, as opposed to just letting our state elected officials decide if we will legalize sports gambling. In other words, just getting it on the ballot to let voters decide. Do you think that will give it some more traction to keep it alive, at least to get to a ballot?
Yeah, no, that's a technique used when legislators think that they don't want to be responsible for the actual vote that made that gambling legal. They say, well, we're just going to give the voters the right to decide. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think that it may require a constitutional amendment, because I think the Constitution only allows for lottery and pari-mutuel betting. And so, I'm open to that. But if we're going to do that, then I'd rather, go get my bill that I filed back in 2009, and let's just do full destination resort casino gaming, and just have the sports books inside the casinos. But, that's a different conversation altogether.
Senator, though, when you do that, I guess this particular bill is just for 4 different areas, the bigger cities in the state of Texas: Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. to have some place to go. Is that, and I'm curious as to your bill, would it just allow like San Antonio, for example, to turn into Las Vegas? Hotels on
No,
the
my
Riverwalk and
my
that's
bill, no, without a doubt. I think that would be a disaster. I would hate to see slot machines or sports betting rooms in every corner convenience store around town. I think that would be disgusting. My bill that I had filed back in 2009 required a license that you would place with the state with a license fee somewhere in the 250 to $300 million, and it would require an investment somewhere around $500 million. No, my vision is that you would have a casino per around 2 million people, one per. So it was a destination resort where you would bring in new conventions, new meetings from out of state. Well, the worst thing to do, in my opinion, with gambling is just to steal gambling or revenue from the existing bingo halls, from the existing, VFW halls, from the existing card rooms. That's ridiculous. I want to bring new money into the state, money that's going to Las Vegas, money that's going to the WinStar in Oklahoma, money that's going to Louisiana. The money that's being exported is the money I'd like to see come to Texas, not us just, stealing discretionary funds from the existing funds of the movie theaters, the bowling alleys, and wherever else people are getting their entertainment. I think that would be a sad and it would be a poor path to go down. I'm not sure. I haven't read this bill that was just filed, but my bill would have been one that, people would have said, let's go see a show, a place where you could go see a show where you'd attract concert venues. You'd have good dining, you'd have the hotel, the casino, and then people would bring in conventions. And so that we could get on the cycle between the two biggest convention cities in the nation are Vegas and Orlando. And they both have casino gaming available. And so what I'd like to see is us develop, the state of Texas, the capacity to hold some of the bigger conventions and put us in the cycle with that so that we would get some of that revenue here.
Jose, I think about what you talked about, what you filed back in 2009. It sounds similar to what I'm reading, what was filed today. And I'm interested, because like you mentioned, WinStar, and this one has resort destinations. And I know one of the knocks in the past is the amount of lobbyist money from those other states spending money in Texas to keep Texas from making it legal so that Texans would travel there. This bill that was done today is supported by the Destination Resort Alliance and backed by the resort company Las Vegas Sands. Are we seeing a shift in the lobby dollars where it was against? Now it seems maybe for getting Texas legalized?
No, they're just different lobbyists. No, you can bet all pun intended, you can bet your bottom dollar that the casinos, WinStar, and those folks are going to spend gazillions of dollars to fight this bill. The people that have casinos in Louisiana probably spend a lot of money to fight this bill. Anybody who's got a financial interest to lose will probably come out of the woodwork to fight against this bill. And I was shocked at how many people were worried about it, and they're worried because they don't believe they'll be able to compete, and so I don't know, to be honest with you, if this bill makes it or doesn't make it. To get something on the constitutional on a ballot in Texas, you have to have a supermajority. You have to have 100 votes in the House, and you have 21 in the Senate. That is not a small bar to clear. And so this is by no means a slam dunk. There's going to be some work to be had. But if I had to bet today, I wouldn't bet that the odds are not great that this bill passes.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, obviously, when it comes to sports gambling, Jason and I think would both like to see that happen. Senator, when you talk to your colleagues, and I don't know what the conversations are like, or if this subject ever comes up, do you get a response from people that you're close to, maybe in your party or even across the aisle, that are for or against this? Do you guys talk about it?
This is not an issue that's been talked about a lot in a long time. Typically, this kind of bill, this situation gets filed when we're broke. We should have passed this bill way back when, a long time ago, because then we would have tremendous amount of revenue. We could lower our property taxes. We could be having more investment in our schools. We'd have more tax revenue to spread. Our roads would probably be better, and it would be a less burden on the local taxpayer. And that's why I'm interested in a bill that brings new visitors to Texas and keeps them from going to Oklahoma, Louisiana, Las Vegas. And so that's my goal, is to see that happen. But you got to understand, when you have so many, you have to get so many votes, 100 out of 150 in the House, 21 out of 31 in the Senate. That means that it is easier for the opposition to focus on just keeping you from getting to that number. And the opposition is going to spend a lot of money hiring a lot of people with a lot of relationships. Obviously, when I filed this bill way back when, I went to Vegas. I sat down with the people at the Wynn, at the MGM, at the Las Vegas Sands, and I said, what would be the way that you would come to Texas and build a quality casino that we could be proud of and that would bring convention space? And they said, you have to make it to where that you wouldn't have gaming spread out all over the state. You'd have, a certain number around the state where they would all compete, but that's the only way they're going to recoup that $500 million investment that you're asking them to do. And you got to remember, every one of these destination resort casinos, they hire anywhere between 7,000 and 9,000 employees. That is a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so to me, this is not about whether I like to gamble or not, because it's about what am I going to do that's better for my state? What is going to help my community? And if people get the opportunity to find quality entertainment in the process, awesome. But it's not like we have lack of venues to go see concerts or do things. We just don't have a casino. But if we're going to have a casino, I don't want to be St. Louis, Missouri, where you go to a little riverboat underneath the arch with all the homeless folks that are desperate to win a jackpot. That is one of the most depressing experiences that I've ever had. And I don't think we want that in our community.
No, we certainly don't.
No.
State Senator Jose Menendez joining us here on the Blitz. And Jose, we stay out of politics 99% of the time on this show and on this station. We're the toy department, the escape from reality, but sports gambling kind of crosses that line. So forgive kind of an ignorant political type question, but you're a Democrat. You mentioned that Charlie Guerin is a senior Republican state representative. Is this one of those subjects that falls party line where in the past Democrats wanted it, Republicans apparently said no? And the way you said that a few minutes ago, I was wondering, because it was a Republican that filed it, are we seeing a shift where Republicans and Democrats can agree on this and it doesn't get stuck on party sides?
Yeah, I think many of my Republican colleagues will still be concerned with their primary politics and the some of the more moral majority type primary voters. I think one of the huge mistakes that they've done is to make districts more and more gerrymandered. This is why I have constantly looked to introduce a bipartisan, independent redistricting committee that would make districts more, the general elections would matter more so because they would be more balanced. When you have districts that are so heavily controlled where it's only in the primary, I can't tell you 100% whether or not this thing's going to have the capacity to pass, because I just don't know what happens in those Republican primaries in terms of what they go through or who are the power brokers. The problem with these hyper-partisan districts is that you put the election decision in the hands of a very small but yet very loud group of people. If you were to take it and make the districts more balanced, Democrat, Republican, then you have a November election where the candidates have to speak to a much broader group of people, where people who sometimes may say, I'm going to vote for the best person. Yeah, I tend to lean R or D, but I want to go with the best person. And that's the reality. On this deal, I think you're going to see a lot more lobbying taking place. It's going to be hard. I honestly cannot tell you what the odds are on this thing. I hope that if the state of Texas literally wants to go forward, we do it in a way that brings more jobs and that we can be proud of what we've done, not in a way that we look back and we say, oh my God, what did we do to our state?
Senator, I'm just curious, and a quick question for you as we close out here. With the bill that you filed back in 2009, obviously, I would assume you talked to some of your constituents. What is the thought process among the voters that you represent when it comes to this issue?
Look, all the polling data that I've shown tells me that this vote will pass running away. I mean, the people of Texas, Republicans and Democrats, want the opportunity to be able to bet, whether it's sports gaming, whether it's gambling in a casino. The number one consumer for Vegas casinos are Texans. We export more than $6 billion a year, every single year out of the state, whether it's Vegas or surrounding states. No, this will pass. If it gets to the voters, it's going to pass. The question is, what kind of bill passes? And I would hope that it's more than just a sports betting room. I would hope that if people can go to a place where they can, relatives can come and they can stay in a very nice casino. They can have a great meal. They can go watch a show, and then they can play a few games or whatever they want to play. If their game is craps or roulette or poker, why should they be limited? And that's the thing that just drives me nuts. So many of my friends talk about, my Republican friends, independence and liberty and freedom. Don't touch my gun and all this stuff. Well, what about those issues when it comes to gambling? Why, they want to call Democrats nanny states and that we're just, we worry about everything. Well, I know a lot of Democrats that will be more than happy to let grown adults make a decision on whether or not they go gamble or not gamble.
Amen, brother.
100% agree.
Amen.
Well, you got a couple guys here on the radio that will
whatever we
carry
can
the
do.
flag to try to get this passed. And Jose, man, I feel smarter after after that 15 minutes and about the process and the reality of because I think I 100% agree. If it's on a ballot, it's going to pass.
It's going to pass. Yeah.
We just have to figure out how to get it on it to the ballot and make that happen. State Senator Jose Menendez on a Friday afternoon, no doubt, no less. Do appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
You got it, guys. Thanks for what y'all do. Look forward to talking to you all soon. Take care.